Secondary Line Replacement Working Group, the SLRWG, SLRWG. So everyone's, I'm sure, has noticed, it was July of 2018, last year. So we're almost a year into where all the bid packs went into this new secondary line generator, the SLG. That is the upgrade. Don't get that confused with the replacement. This is the replacement working group. The upgrade, the only reason the upgrade is in place is so that the company could take advantage, or CBA compliant, whatever term you want to use, to put 20% of the reserve days into the secondary line generator. They become contractually compliant. They added that little note, if anybody wants to spend time reading the SLR, the secondary line replacement LOA, to the back of the CBA, makes for fun reading. That upgrade was just one little whereas that was added very late in the game, because the company said, hey, if we wait for this replacement, it might take a while. But replacements typically take 2 years from when you say, we want to replace this software and get new software in place. That's what happened the first time around. It took them a little over 2 years to get the system they have in place now. Just this year, after the upgrade was complete, we started having monthly meetings with the company, Secondary Line Replacement Working Group, and they have narrowed down the number of vendors to 3, and they're in the process of meeting with the vendors in the next couple months. So the SLG, there's been a number of issues with the SLG. The company, I think, didn't do a good service to pilots by publishing a user guide, or how does this work? How are they going to implement their upgrade? They have done a number of webinars, but those are on a specific timeline, and we pushed them to put out some communication on how these things actually, how the software actually works, and over the past year they've done a little bit better job putting that stuff out. Also, they're very responsive to emails, sending them insight report, and if anyone has any issues with this, with the new generator, you should email the company as soon as possible, copy us, PDR. They answer the emails on the weekends. That futures department will answer emails over the weekend. But we've had a number of glitches with the system. 2 months ago, we had a pilot that emailed me, said, I got 0 credit for next month, 0 trips, I have nothing. And I go, did you have any carryover? Did you have train? Nothing. I got nothing. I have nothing, I got nothing. So there's a report, you can look in VIPS, it shows the credit on the secondary lines for that bid pack. There was another pilot got 0. I went through the report, I go, how's this guy get 0? I looked him up. So I contacted the manager of futures and said, why did these 2 pilots get 0? It was a glitch. So I recommended perhaps we should screen all of the lines next time. If you see a 0, she said she's going to take care of that. But that was one of the glitches we've seen happen. I just put a comm out with regard to the snapshot. And I think if we went around the room and asked if anybody knows what the snapshot is, they probably wouldn't know. It greatly affects your secondary line. If you bid secondary lines, please read that about the snapshot. They take snapshot 24 hours before the secondary working window opens. It's what's on your calendar. It's what's in open time. If you add a trip, a carryover trip in that week of the secondary working window, it may knock out your whole month of flying. And you possibly could get those hours put into your makeup bank. If there's no trips in open time, or no trips you can make up, you could potentially have 0 pay for that month. And that has happened. What happened to all the reserve lines with the SLG? So when the SLG first started, like I said, a year ago next month, with all the bid packs, I audited every line, the number of lines, how many reserve days were going into the secondary line generator, and the contract says 20% of reserve days can be put into the secondary line generator. 80% of the reserve days must be placed on reserve lines. So I did the audit and I said, well, on about half of them, you're only putting 79.5, about 12 to 14 days a month they were missing, that they were rounding in their direction, not our direction. They said, you're right, we'll fix that. A number of other issues they weren't taking into account. They said, okay, we'll fix them. There's no major discrepancy that I saw contractually. I looked at how under the old CBA rules to the new CBA rules take effect for reserve days. Under the old CBA, you'd have a dozen lines. First line, conflict with carryover. Second line, conflict with vacation. Third line, conflict with training. And when these conflicts knocked out the reserve days, those reserve days went away. They disappeared into the garbage, never to be seen or heard from again. So the company almost overbuilt the number of reserve lines to take into account all the conflicts that people would have with reserve lines under the old CBA. For the new CBA, that changed. So if you conflict something on your reserve line, the company will recreate that block of reserve and port it into the secondary line generator. So if the first guy knocks the whole reserve block out for vacation, it goes into the secondary line generator. If the second guy has 2 days of carry out and it knocks 2 days off of the second guy's block, that whole block will get recreated to the secondary line generator. So in essence, reserve days never go away. They get recreated and in some instances duplicated for the secondary line generator. So that's why we went from, like I said, we only have 20%, yet 40% reduction in reserve lines going forward. Is there any questions on it? Everyone understand that concept? Because that took me a while to figure out how we were losing so many reserve lines. One other thing about the letter of agreement, yes, secondary line generator letter of agreement talks about having a user guide, beta testing. All this stuff is supposed to be done with the secondary line replacement working group. And that is the system that our chairman will have the last say on. He can say yes or no, whether he likes it or he doesn't, after this whole process plays out. Communication. If you have a scheduling question, ask us. I have, like I said, I have 50 people that work under me in my group. And if you have a scheduling question, we'll either get an answer, we'll find out that answer within 24 hours is our goal. We've had instances where we got emails, social media. I emailed the SIG, I never got a response back. And I'm like, I don't have an email from that guy. I don't know what he's talking about. If you don't get a response within 24 hours, email me and I'll say, hey, we're looking into it or we're doing some research, we'll get back to you. One pilot sent an email, said, I've been here for 25 years, I've never complained. They go, you can email, we're pilots, we'll answer your emails. It's not, even if it's not a complaint, just say, yeah, I like the, or can you do this? A question, you go, can you put these cities together? Whatever it might be, just email us. I know we're using the PDR system now and it's helped us keep track and be more responsive. Social media, I am not a big fan of social media. I've told my entire group, as we stated earlier, we don't make any statements on social media. As an aside, one of my reviewers posted something with regard to the retirement plan, and within an hour or two, I got a call from John Cardesi and said, why is your guy commenting on the retirement? And it isn't even correct. I called him up and said, can you please take that down from, he says, yeah, sure. I'll take it down right now. Okay, good. For everyone in the room, management reads every one of these message boards. I told management, I told him, yeah, I got the call from the chairman. He said, yeah, your guy talked about something, probably shouldn't have. And I said, yeah, so I told him to delete it. Management said, yeah, we noticed that he wrote that. And we noticed he deleted it. That was within maybe a 2 to 4 hour window. So they're reading the message boards. They read everything out there. So that's why I tell my guys to be careful on what they post on social media.